Hey, Bob, can you tell us exactly where we're at today and what's on our agenda for our expedition tonight?
Yeah, we are out at Uwharrie National Forest and near, kind of out from Albemarle, North Carolina. This is the actual spot for people that are really into the Bigfoot thing. I don't know if you remember or have been for a while the Mike Green footage that was on Finding Bigfoot, where it came up and got the supposedly came up and got the candy bar off the stump.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Some people remember that.
The gifting
Some,
stump
yeah.
is what it's referred to, I
Yeah.
believe.
So the stump is just probably, I don't know, 20, 30 feet behind me.
Yeah.
We have had a lot of experiences here. We started coming out here in 2013. I think it was April 2013. This is actually the very first place we ever started. And that very first night, we had my son and my wife's granddaughter. They were like 11 and 12 years old. It had been raining all day. It stopped raining when we got here. So we were sitting up. There was, like tonight, there's nobody out here but us. And it's a primitive campground, is what it is. So we were sitting up with the van about where it is now. And we had this awning backed up to the van, and the kids were playing in the van and, you know, making noises and going on like kids do, playing.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I were at that table right there trying to, I think we were making sandwiches or something. There's no electricity out here. There was just light. Just the only light we had was I had a headlamp hanging from the top of this canopy right here, pointing down on the table. That's the only light that was out here.
Right. Right.
I was standing there. The kids were in there. I was standing right behind where you're sitting right now. And I just looked into the woods. It was dark. And I saw, it kind of blew my mind, right over in there and down in there toward that creek. We've had a lot of things happen, but this particular thing, I saw two, what looked like, I guess I'm thinking they were eyeballs. They were big and green, but they were not close together. They were like apart. And they kind of moved together is what really made me think they were a set of eyes.
Right.
Know? And I told my wife, I said, don't point, just look. And I told her where to look. I said, I'm just going to turn this way, and you just look and see if you see anything. And it was right over there. I mean, right over there.
Yeah.
And she looked and she said, what is that? And I said, what do you see? She said, it looks like two big green eyes. I said, that's what I think it is too.
Right.
I said, don't panic. Let's just see what happens, you know. And we were new to this. That was our very first outing.
Right.
And if you know anything about Uwharrie, lots of sightings around here, BFRO website, different websites, different things like that. We've had a ton of stuff happen over 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we watched it for a little bit, and then it just went away. It's like closed, gone. And then the kids got out of the van, and we had another little table set up.
Did you happen to hear anything like footprints when it moved away or it disappeared or it left?
Didn't hear a thing. Never heard a thing. But today, what is today's date?
7th, 8th, 7th or 8th.
August, I think it's the 8th. August 8th. It had been raining for a couple of days. It rained that day, but like this is August 8th, 2025.
Right.
Much like, we've had a lot of rain this week, and it drizzled off and on us. It's pretty damp out here, right? So you could move. There's a lot of not a lot of underbrush, but you could move through here pretty quietly.
Right.
And they do what they do. I don't know how they do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it seems like you can hear them. Sometimes
Right.
I think if they want you or they don't care if you hear them.
Yeah.
But if they're trying to be quiet, I think they can be. I don't know how they do that, but it seems like they do that. So that was the very, and I didn't think to try to didn't have anything to get any sort of a night picture or anything like that.
Right.
And it was there. We experienced it, and it was gone, and it was all over.
Mm. How many times had you been here to this spot before you saw the eyes, or was that the first time you came here and
That
you
was
saw them the first time?
Very first time we had ever
Okay.
been here. Well, we had come out here before and ran into not to camp, but just we were out here during the day, and we ran into a couple of fellas, and they had a lot of gear, and we were like, as a matter of fact, they were right here, and we had parked over there, and we ended up asking them what they were doing, and they were like, "You really want to know?" I was like, "I guess so." It was kind of weird. And they said, "We're looking for Bigfoot." And at that time, I'm like, "Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What are you really doing?" And they said, "No, we're looking for Bigfoot. We're waiting on another guy." And I became friends with all those guys later on. And we're waiting on another guy, and we're going to hike back in the woods
Right.
tonight. And I was like, "Oh, okay, let's go." I said, and then they mentioned the Mike Green squeaky video. I said, "Yeah, we saw that on Finding Bigfoot." And they said, "There's the stump right over there."
Right.
And I was like, "Really?" And they were like, "Yeah, that's where it was. That's where that was. Where he caught that." I don't know I think his van was in that other. It was right next to us, pointing back in there. And he left it running and then drove off or something. Went up to the front up there and then came back later.
Mm-hmm.
It looks pretty realistic. I don't know. After everything I've experienced out here, I absolutely probably was real.
Could you could you give us just a little brief history on the gifting stump?
That happened. The Mike Green thing happened before we ever came out here.
Right.
Matter of fact, that was one of the reasons. We were just trying to get my son out of the house.
Yeah.
And we came out here just goofing around on a Saturday, and then we went to another place before. Then we came out here, ran into those guys, and they told us about it. My wife and I would come out here a lot during the summer. I was self-employed, and she was a teacher, so she had all summer off. So she and I would come out here a lot, like on the middle of the week.
Right.
Nobody's around.
Yeah.
Some very, very interesting things happened over the years. But we used that stump for a while. We would put things out, and I didn't really, at that time, have a thermal.
Right.
We just had the Sony night vision stuff, and we were just, having fun, trying to see. Never really caught anything right there, but we have caught things down in the creek down the hill here. We've had rocks thrown. That reminds me, I have a video from that first summer. I had one of the Sony night visions right there, and I made a mag light, and I put an hour light in it, and I set it up to give it more light for the little Sony thing.
Right.
We got in the van to go to sleep, and a rock came from that position right there and hit right in front of the cooler. You can see the rock and hear it.
Really?
Yeah. We'll put that up.
And to everyone out there that's watching, can you please explain to them that a bear cannot throw a rock?
Yeah, there's...
Let's just put this myth to sleep right now, because bears cannot throw rocks.
Yeah.
And they do not throw rocks.
No, there's nothing out here that can throw rocks, except these creatures, and they're out here. I've seen enough. But what you have to realize is we put in an insane amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you, from June of last year.
Yeah.
Going, that's pretty much every weekend.
Yeah, this has pretty much been my hobby, my weekend, my recreation, my work, my focus. For the last year of my life, I have done nothing but dedicate myself to this. And I'm not deterred. even though I may not have physically seen a Bigfoot, that doesn't mean it's going to keep me from still spending the time and still wanting to find the answers for myself, because I want to know the answers to this. I want to see these creatures. I want to see their movement. I want to see how fast they are. I want to see the color of their hair. I want to see how how their head, neck bends and their arms move and the muscle tone. I want to see that. And I think that is outstanding if a person has the opportunity to see something like that.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to try to take advantage of it.
Yeah, not many people do. But like I said, my wife and I, we came the first 2 years. She and I came a lot, and then we had something happen at near Stone Mountain, North Carolina, up near North Carolina Virginia border, and she kind of pulled back, and I really didn't have anybody to go with.
Yeah.
I went with these guys some, but getting everybody's schedule together is kind of hard. So I went with those guys some, and that's when I met Dwight in 2015. Funny story about Dwight, how Dwight and I met was early in 2015. I really didn't have anybody to go with, and I really didn't want to come out here by myself, because even at that point, I had seen one. I saw one in that first summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew enough to know these things actually exist, and they are around here. Now, is anything around here tonight? I don't know. Probably not. Most nights, nothing happens. The vast majority of the time, nothing happens. So you better enjoy being outside and who you go with.
Right.
But from time to time, something crazy will happen, and it's almost like when you least expect it. So we try to keep audio recorders going. As soon as we get out of the truck, you start an audio recorder in case you catch a yell or a scream or something. Now we have thermals, some pretty good thermals that we set up. As soon as it gets dark, we set them up, and we're going to do a video on that as well, as what we use and how we use it. Some people may be interested in that. But I put an ad on Craigslist for somebody to go squatching with, because I really didn't know what else to do, because this is, believe it or not, this is much more mainstream than it was then.
Mm-hmm.
So I had some really good replies from people who were just, having fun with me. I wish I had kept those, because they were hilarious.
I bet you would have.
One guy said he would come, but he had to bring his monkey, and his monkey had a heroin problem. So,
I don't think I want him as a fellow investigator.
Yeah, he was just, they're just messing. And I laughed, and I thought, well, that's fair.
Yeah.
Because of what I'm asking. So I think while I was going through looking, there was an ad. Somebody had put an ad about wanting to start to do research. So I answered the guy back, and he answered me back, and we back and forth, and ended up texting and to set up a time to go. So finally was like, okay, I'm going to invite this guy along. And so I asked him, I said, look, we're going to go Friday. Can you go Friday? He was like, yeah. I said, well, I'll pick you up. What time do I pick you up? Like 3 o'clock or something. I said, okay, so where do you live? I'll come by and pick you up, or you meet me somewhere. And he said, well, I live in Mount Holly. And I said, that's where I live. And he was like, really? And so we got to talking. Although we lived in the same town pretty much all of our lives, we did not know each other. And so he ended up coming over to my house that first time.
Right.
And we were he didn't really have much, because he'd never been. So we, put my gear in and all this stuff. And my wife, we were out there in front of my garage, and he's out there. He don't know nothing from nobody. He's a little shy. And my wife says, in front of him, she says, half kid and half serious, she says, well, you really don't know this guy. And I said, no. I said, but if he gives me any shit, I'll just put him out on the side of the road. And Dwight looked at me like, are they kidding? Or
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I said, it'll be fine. Let's go. I mean, Dwight is not a menacing looking person, really. So we ended up going to Thurman Chatham near Stone Mountain, North Carolina. And we met a guy that I worked with at the time, Jason Bardot. And we set up that night. And I know Dwight was, because he's sitting in the dark with two total strangers.
Right.
So I'm trying to make him feel good, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm carrying my sidearm.
Right.
Jason's carrying his sidearm. He's as crazy as we are.
Yeah.
Right. And so we were kind of sitting around, and it was a very good area. And I said, well, here, Dwight. I had gotten a thermal by then, the FLIR. And I said, here, look around, look through this. I didn't expect anything to happen, really. And so he's sitting there in the chair, and he's looking around, and he says, there's 3 things out there. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, they're coming this way. I said, what? He said, they just stopped. There's 3 of them. I said, what do they look like? He said, well, they look kind of big. And I'm like, and like, he's serious, you know? And he was serious. And he said, one went this way and one just went that way. And the other one's standing right there. I said, what is standing right there?
Yeah.
He said, it looks like huge dogs. And so then we started hearing walking around us. And I was like, yeah, he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
And I was like, didn't think it was Bigfoot or anything like that, but I thought maybe it was big coyotes is probably what it was. And I told Jason, I said, tell you what, if he steps out, take him out. And Dwight's like, what? What do you what? I said, yeah, drop him. You can, if they're checking us out, if they get them where you can see them,
Yeah.
drop him.
Yeah.
Because Jason and I shot all the time. We would go to his house. He lives out your way, actually. And he's got like 10 acres. And we would go up there and set up a shooting range. And we'd
Right.
shoot every gun we got. And so we
Yeah.
shot a lot. And that's why I was like, he's a pretty good shot. I was like, hey, if that big one steps out,
Yeah.
drop him. I don't care how many you have to shoot, drop him. And Dwight's like, he told me later on, he said, man, that made me nervous as crap. I thought I was going to get shot. I said, no, no, man, we're not crazy.
Yeah.
But if he comes in close, we're going to drop him. We can. It's legal,
Right.
Not a problem. But we never really saw them. That one stopped. They went around this way. And then that one came on around and kept going. I was like, wow. Well, that was interesting for your first night. And
Right.
he said, yeah, man. So we sat there and we planned to spend the night. So it got up to be like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And, you start to get,
Oh yeah.
you start struggling,
Yeah. I think the absolute worst part of nighttime operations is 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
From 3 o'clock in the morning until daylight, it's
hard.
It's hard because you're already tired, you're exhausted, and you're focused on watching your screens. You're focused on watching your camera images. You're sitting there listening intently for hours to just the slightest little movement in the woods, and it wears you out mentally.
Tedious.
It really does. I have a completely different respect for soldiers who go out on these missions and they have to view something or watch something for days on end, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do they do that?
Well, what we did that night was you can go out a little ways, you cross over this little road, and then you go up this trail that goes forever. I said, well, let's just go. I've never walked that trail. Let's just go, just to stay awake. Let's go walk that trail. Let's move. Let's do something.
Yeah.
So the 3 of us walked out. We crossed the little road, and we started going up this trail. It's not like you can drive on it. It's too rough to drive on. And after we went probably a half mile or so, Dwight still has these pictures. I may still have them somewhere. We found tracks on that trail. And this was like early April.
Okay.
It was cold and wet. And we found perfect little tracks, toes, everything. No longer than that right there. What is that, 3 inches
3
or so?
inches max?
3, yeah, right around 3 inches. And we were like, oh, man, look at that. I mean, they had detail to them.
Yeah.
They weren't really castable because it wasn't mushy, but you could see it.
Right.
You know? And then we kept looking around, and then we started finding some that was like 17, 18 inches.
Right.
And that was incredible. I still need to ask Dwight what he thought about that. He mentioned this the other day, I think.
Uh-huh.
And that was quite a first night. Now, we didn't see anything, but we had the coyotes come in on us, and then we had found the tracks, the foot tracks.
Right.
That's a pretty good night, really, when you think about it.
That's an excellent night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that all day long, every day.
Yeah. So, that was very interesting, his first night. And then after that, Dwight and I started going every Friday, no matter what. He works third shift. He would get off Friday morning. And when I got home, 3 or 4 o'clock, we just had an understanding. We didn't really discuss, are we going to go? I would just text him and say, hey, man, I can probably be at your house by 3:30. Will that work? And he's like, yeah, come on.
Yeah.
And we would go. And we didn't even know where we were going to go for sure. We have about 5 different places that are not too terribly far away that we go to.
Right.
And we would just rotate those spots. And
to your point, I've had some people that have commented to me and asked the question. They're like, well, if you've gone out that many times, why haven't you already seen one? And number one, none of our research areas are close by.
Right.
We're driving a minimum of an hour and 45 minutes in one direction just to get to the trailhead of where we're going to go.
Right.
Then you've got to go from the trailhead to whether it's a campsite location or deep in the woods or down a road and walk down a road and then go down to a creek. And so if we lived next door to that would be totally and it's kind of hard to create a relationship with these creatures when you've got that much of a distance. But we can't just hop down here 3 days in a row and put something out or play music or do something to try to get their attention. Right. It's just not humanly possible for us. So we have to utilize what time we've got and make the best of it,
right,
by trying to do daytime evidence collection and then set up our whole campsite for night operations.
And set up, I mean, we've got like, I have one really good thermal and 2 older ones. And if the weather conditions are right, they're decent. You've got a good one. Dwight's got 2 good ones. So we try to set those up in different places and get different angles of different areas. Mm-hmm. And we've got them hooked to through Bluetooth. They'll come back to our tablets. So we can set them up. Got about a 60-foot range. Mm-hmm. So we'll set those up and we'll sit here, and we have a remote gimbal to where we can turn them up and tilt them and turn 360, so we don't have to get up and look. Because the night Lee Woods and Dwight Campbell and I went down the creek a little ways and set up, 3 of them walked up on us. 2 went one way, the big one went the other way, and the 2 little ones, they were smaller than the big one, would step out from the tree, and they would look, and they would go back and forth. But the bigger one, he would just lean his head out from the tree. So I had my phone looking through the FLIR monocular, and I had it mounted on a little L-shaped bracket so we could all see it on the screen and screen record it, because the thermal itself didn't record. And I was sitting there watching them. the two, and I turned this far. We're a good 30 yards from them.
Mm-hmm.
Pitch dark, can't see anything. We're under the tree canopy. And I turned that thermal that far, and that thing ducked its head back.
So the slightest movement.
If you're looking at them, they know, in my opinion, they know when you're looking at them.
Right.
But if we're sitting here with the thermal and we've got our backs to this area, whatever we have our back to, we can look and see things, and we've caught things. And they're always going to be behind you or beside you.
Right.
So that's the gimbal thing. We can turn those and look all around us without having to. You don't want to jump up and look because they'll see you.
Right. I think that's a really good, honest story. And it's nice that everybody's getting a little bit more of your background history. Yours and Dwight's.
Yeah.
And it's good that people know kind of the beginning of where this was. And I think people also need to be reminded that, you know, you and Dwight have collected this evidence and sat on it for the most part.
Yeah.
Not released it. It hasn't been given out to the public. And, you know, since I came on board with you guys, and I just kept poking and prodding and going, come on, guys, you guys have got way too much evidence. The world needs to see this. The world needs to see what's going on down here in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. And luckily, for everybody out there, I'm just glad I was able to talk you guys into doing this and getting all y'all's expertise and information out to the public.
Well, you know, I appreciate it. The reason we didn't put stuff out is because so many people, and I don't really understand this. Well, maybe I do. Maybe I got a clue. But if you get something and you share it with everybody, a lot of people appreciate it. But so many people attack you,
right,
and ridicule you and insult you and call you names, and it's like, you know what? It's just not worth it. I mean,
right.
Not that I really care what somebody, but I just rather not deal with it. You know
right.
what I mean? So we just kept things to ourselves, and we share it with each other and go, oh, look what we got, or look what I got, or
yeah,
or we'll set up all night, or we'll leave our thermals running all night. We'll get 3 or 4 hours sleep, pack up, go home, and then that day or the next day we'll start reviewing our footage and go, hey, what do you think about this? Or I caught this. What do you think about that? And,
right, right.
And we have, you know, and I'll say this too about, and we still see, and we've had people comments, not many, but a few comments on this YouTube channel, people calling us names and things like that. And it's like, if you don't believe, why are you looking at this? Why are you looking at our channel if you don't believe anything about it? I don't understand that.
Maybe they just need us to convince them.
Maybe that is, but I'll tell you this. My wife's son, I used to share with him what Dwight and I would get, because I'd be excited about it. I really didn't have anybody to share it with, but I would talk to him about it, you know.
Yeah.
And I would show him stuff. Well, one day we had gotten something, and I said, look, we got this last weekend. And he had this look on his face. And I was like, what's wrong? I said, am I boring you, or you think I'm nuts? And he said, no. He said, I don't think you're nuts. He said, this stuff you show me and tell me about scares the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. And I hate to think that something like that really exists. And he was like, I really don't want to see it because it scares the crap out of me. Right. Because he knew I wasn't lying. Yeah. I mean, I've known him forever, right? Mm-hmm. And I showed him a lot of stuff, and he's like, so maybe that's what, maybe a lot of people who are haters are really, they just can't accept that something like that exists. Right. And I had a hard time, because when I met those guys out here,
You laughed at them.
I laughed at them.
Yeah.
I was like, "Nah, man, really, what are you doing?" And they're like, "No, we're hunting Bigfoot." I'm like, "Nah, what are you? Come on, man." And I went. We talked forever. We
Yeah.
sat on that table right there and talked. They were waiting on another guy, and so one guy said to the other guy, he said, "Well, show him some of your stuff." So he started showing me some pictures, and I'm like, "Where'd you get that?" He
Yeah.
said, "Right up there on the trail."
Right.
Nah, really? He said, "Yeah, I'm serious. I'm not lying to you. You came up to me. I didn't come to you."
Yeah.
I said, "True."
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, play some of that audio." And he started playing the audio that since we have been able to capture at different places. And that audio and those pictures he showed me, I got in my head. And I'm like, is that really true? Is that right? You know, for a couple weeks, I'm like, no, that's not, that can't be.
Yeah.
And I'd always thought, if they do exist, maybe in the Pacific Northwest or Russia or China or something like that.
Yeah.
But not here,
Mhm.
right? And I can't explain it. I don't really know. I don't know what they are. But when you dig into like the history and the different natives, even the First Nations people from Canada,
Right.
they all have stories about these creatures.
Oh, absolutely. They've been around. It's been documented. There's carvings on cave walls, desert landscapes.
Yeah,
You know,
and oral stories. But
there's oral stories that have been passed down for generation and generation and generation.
yeah,
And yeah, I believe there were quite a few more of them back in the day than there are currently.
and what I can say, let me say this right quick while I'm thinking about it. You know, we'll answer anybody's questions about whatever if you want to make comments, and I do read all the comments. The only thing I can say for sure, I don't like to hear people make definitive statements about Bigfoot, because some people say some things, you know, pro Bigfoot, and I'm like, well, how do you exactly know that? How do you know that? Is that what you think? Is that a hypothesis of yours or whatever? But the thing I can say for sure, a couple of things I can say for sure, is they do exist. They exist in numbers that even a lot of people who do believe would not believe. The amount, the numbers. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and tell you. We've seen them here in Uwharrie. Seen them at Thurman Chatham, up near Stone Mountain. The town that Tim lives in, Franklin, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Tim has a lot of evidence from up there.
Right.
Did I
Sumter.
say the South Mountains?
South Mountains.
South
Sumter.
Mountains. We've seen them there. Between sightings and catching things on thermal, we have friends down in Alabama near this side of Birmingham
Mm-hmm.
who have some incredible evidence. Virginia, Southwest Virginia, we have a really good video, the one walking behind the building
Yeah.
that Dwight got
Right.
there. We have a friend out in the eastern part of North Carolina. He's found tracks and got some thermal. And you talk to other people that you trust and you know have been done this, and you find out South Carolina, where we got the scream we were talking about,
Waxhaw.
had the sighting in Waxhaw that
Mm-hmm.
other people can verify.
Right.
And that's another video we're going to have about.
And that was
story.
a daytime sighting.
That was absolutely.
That was a daytime sighting with multiple witnesses.
Yes.
And that would comfortably fit the criteria for if it was turned into like the BFRO, because you got multiple witnesses, daytime sightings, movement from the creature, I mean,
I've got the date, the time,
the date,
everything.
the time. You got eyewitnesses that'll verify it.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
so that's another video that we need to do. Just that story and what happened.
right.
In the end, and we actually found out later that other people one guy had seen it the same afternoon, saw exactly what we saw, and then you talked to another lady that lives in that area and knew people in that same neighborhood, and they had sightings. Now, when exactly that happened, but it's all in that same area.
Right.
So that's me, my two coworkers, the guy who saw it later that day, or at that same time, and then some people who lived in that neighborhood. That's pretty impressive.
Right. And that one was reported on the news that night.
Yeah, it was on the radio.
I mean the radio.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It was on the radio. So when I say they're in numbers most people wouldn't believe, we've been into this hard and heavy.
Yeah.
I have for 12 years, and I've looked at everything, and I try to read everything, and there's a lot of crap out there, but there's a lot of good stuff out there too. We have a friend in Florida. He has seen them there. They will come to his house. He's got a great set of, it's like a dusty road, handprints on the window.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you can see ridge lines and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. There's
well, you've had handprints on your glass of your van before.
Yeah. So, and that was Lenore as an area we've gotten good evidence from. So, you got Florida. We got a guy in Florida. Several people in Alabama. We've been down there several times. South Carolina, Virginia, 5 places in North Carolina. These are not the same ones,
Yeah, and
so,
there's multiple sightings down below Westminster, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Around the
was it earlier this year?
The nuclear power plant from last year.
Yeah. So everybody's not lying.
No.
And if you come out and you say you saw this, you're going to be made fun of. But I will say this, and we all know this, and I know finding Bigfoot, a lot of people make fun of that, and that is what it is. But that really helped the subject become more mainstream.
Right.
And not such a taboo subject like, and I've had people laugh at me about it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. If you would come, and you tell people, well, come with me. If you don't believe it, come with me. Start going with us. And they won't do it. Nobody will ever do it.
Right.
Nobody will, And we do go a lot, and we're a little bit, we enjoy doing it. I look forward to coming out here with you or Dwight or you and Dwight, and it's nice out here, and nobody's bothering us, and you can just do what you want to do. And
yeah.
I enjoy the technical aspect of it. As we set up our audio recorders, and we set up our thermals, and we just scan, and and we have a good time.
Right.
And no, we don't drink or smoke or anything like that.
No, 100% straight up.
Yeah. So,
and
I'm a firm believer that they travel in threes, at least threes. And if you see one, and maybe this is just from everything I've seen, I would never shoot at one unless it was right there and but we've stood our ground, not when they're like really, if anything crazy happened, but, if we do catch something on thermal, we just sit still and watch.
Mm-hmm.
You try not to react or do anything, and just try to see what we can capture.
Right.
I mean, that's the only thing that's ever crossed my mind. I've been scared a few times, not many, but, when we were in Cades Cove, I had a really bad feeling. I can't tell you how much. I had a really bad feeling that we were about to get in trouble somehow, or somebody, or something.
Yeah.
And I just, and I've only had that feeling squatching maybe twice before that. And we now know that they were there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mind them being there. I wish that something benign would have happened and all that kind of stuff. But
Right.
when that rock hit the side, a fastball rock hits the side,
Yeah.
it's time to go.
Yeah.
I'd love
Yeah.
to get some thermal or something, but it's time to go because I'm not. No, it's time to go.
Well, we're not out here to injure ourselves or anyone else.
Right.
You know, we're just out here to get proof for ourselves and for you guys. That's why we're here. So we're the boots on the ground for you guys, if you don't mind me saying so. And we're definitely dedicated, and we're definitely there's no smoke and mirrors. I know I keep saying that, but I have to let people know that this isn't the Finding Bigfoot series. This is the real life. We're honestly searching for these creatures.
And the problem, a guy from Pennsylvania, Tommy Cooper, told me, I was talking to him about video and that stuff, and he was like, well, the only problem with the Bigfoot shows and going out and videoing is very, very rarely does the guest of honor show up.
Right.
So it's hard to, if you were going to do a documentary, I could do something like that using everything me and Dwight's got and what we've gotten over the last year. But you're not going to go out and make a weekly show. And I like what Finding Bigfoot did. That was pretty cool. And that brought it into the mainstream. I mean, let me say this too. We do the local festivals, Bigfoot festivals around here. We go to like Marion, North Carolina, right? And we set it up and we put some evidence and some pictures out. And that's really all we do. And the very first festival we went to, I think it was 2018, we surprised the heck out of me. Very first time they ever had a festival. We set up our awnings, tents, whatever, two together. We had more room, and we took a flat screen and played it in a loop and was playing audio and stuff. We had a line 50 people deep from 9 o'clock that morning until 5 o'clock that night wanting to come and see our stuff and tell us their story.
Right.
So many people came to tell their story. And that's a big festival, but even some of the smaller ones, people will come and they will I've had guys that are like super shy and kind of get you to the side and tell you what happened.
Right.
And I've got audio of one guy. We ought to go see him. I mean, it's incredible. He lives way out in the woods, and strange stuff was happening. And he and his family couldn't figure out what was happening till they started seeing them after months and months.
Right.
And they would bring stuff and put it on his porch at night, or their porch. Just crazy stuff. One time, they brought a plastic bag they had gotten somewhere, I guess, full of empty Monster drink cans and put it on their porch. And it was like, I guess that was a gift, They were like, hey, we got these. I mean, you don't know what they're thinking.
It just showed up?
It just showed up. I mean, like, they were on the porch. I mean, they live way out in the mountains.
Yeah.
He said, his driveway is like 2 miles long and there's nobody else on that road.
Yeah.
So nobody's happening by, right? And just different stuff. And he said he finally figured out, oh my gosh, there's 3 of these things around the house here.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave us his name, address, and phone number and said, if you ever want to come out, just give me a call. We'll set up a time. But the thing about that is, he lives out there. So what I'm thinking is these creatures that are out there, they know him, they know his wife, they know his 2 kids. So if we come in there one night, that's going to disrupt the whole dynamic.
Yeah.
They're not going to come around like they usually do unless we're there every night for months and months.
Right.
And that's not going to happen. But that's why I told him, I said, the best thing you could do is get an audio recorder and start just put it on the porch at night and let it run.
Right.
And I don't think he was really interested in documenting them. He was just wanting to know that he wasn't crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and we had people so many people at those festivals tell us their stories.
Well, it's interesting because when I go back through and I start reviewing comments from Sasquatch Recon channel, there's a lot of people that use the comment section to tell their story.
There is a gentleman.
And I think that's amazing, and we welcome that. So
yes,
if you guys have a story that you'd like to just drop in the comments,
or we could call you and do a phone interview.
Yeah.
Or if you're not too far away, we could come and do an interview.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important, for people to get that out there.
Yeah.
Because it's not as taboo as it used. But and that's one thing we can do that. I think people would like doing that. Would enjoy doing that. Phone interviews wouldn't be that hard to do.
Right.
You see people doing that.
Well, I'm not opposed to adding more research areas to what we've got, as long as it's local.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now we're doing all we can do just to go through and hit our 5, 6, 7 places with any regularity.
And you don't want to go to one place too much.
Right.
That's why I had an old timer tell me that when I first started getting into this. He said, you'll find out, you'll get your spots, and don't wear them out, because they'll be like, it's just them.
Yeah.
But just make it like like you're visiting a friend or something.
Right.
Don't overstay your welcome, and don't come too often.
Right.
And I get that, and that's what we do. And lots of times we don't know until we get in the car which one we're going to go to.